Mr. Yasuhide Nakayama, welcome to CNN News 18. As the former State Minister of Defense and Foreign Affairs in Japan, your inputs are extremely significant considering it's a crucial year for Asia. India is leading the G20, Japan the G7. What are the key issues that the two nations can address mutually to strengthen multilateral cooperation?
The question I had that first of all, Japan and India has a very mutual understanding. As a citizens as a Japanese, I love India people. Why? Especially when we end the war, World War II, the Indian judge, Miss Judge Pal, made a great decision, and also he expressed his own opinion towards the Japan and the Japanese people. And I respect the Judge Pal made a comment at that time. And so we have a strong understanding, and we love democracy. So the two countries, are leading the world, especially G20 this weekend held at India by Indian country and nation and the leaders, and G7 as a Japan. And Modi-san already came to Hiroshima, and he talked with Prime Minister Kishida. So what the consensus of us is we have to make understand by the geopolitical point, especially the former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe made a very great initiative called FOIP, Free, Open, and Indo-Pacific. And this concept is it's not only just a concept. Now it's a very realistic strategic challenge.
Sure.
And yes, and I think now because of the Ukraine situation, Russia and China is now really strongly collaborating, and also Iranians maybe. So we, the two nation, we have a responsibility to let them seize the fire and to make one step forward to let the world more peaceful.
And perhaps that also explains why Japan is now revisiting its pacifist policies and rethinking about it, because we are living in a very polarized world. But interestingly, India and Japan are together working to try and frame a consensus document which has been facing hurdles so far due to Ukraine, something we also witnessed in the communique last year in Bali. India wants the Delhi Declaration to be a consensus document and not a chair summary. What is the difference in the challenges for Japan as the G7 chair and India as the G20 chair? You'll have to, of course, take into consideration the priorities of both the chairs, but what are the difference in terms of their challenges?
I think, honestly speaking, there is no difference. I think the countries, even G7 or G20, I think every country, single nation is equal. So we are the same, and we have the same profit. And what is the difference is political ideology. And I think the democratic nations versus autocracy nations, this is a real big problem in the beginning of the 21st century. And what is the problem is the autocracy nations are doing exactly the same as the 20th century, what the Nazi doing, what the aggressive war, or that kind of terrible, horrible things learned by history. But
Mr. Nakayama, will Japan be able to help India in arriving and bringing all the nations together to arrive upon that consensus or a Delhi Declaration as India has been working towards? Because as I said, India doesn't want a chair summary. Will Japan be able to bring all those countries together upon a common consensus to agree upon as far as Ukraine is concerned?
Yeah, we have to do the same direction focus, and we have to accelerate, and we have to support the India and also the Modi-san. Yes, of course. As a democratic nation.
Mr. Nakayama, Russia and China will not be attending the G20 this year in India. In fact, the Russian ambassador to India has said that Indian presidency experiences strong pressure from some countries, which Russia think has highlighted the agenda of Ukrainization. We've, of course, been witness to the alliance between Russia and China, which has strengthened over the past few years. They want to avoid legitimizing Western-dominated forums like the G20 by prioritizing their own forums like BRICS and SCO. What is the message behind Russia and China's absence at the G20?
That is, I think, it's just a bad friend community. So they are like a childish. If you are adult country, you have to attend. Don't just shooting with toy guns or real bullets. That is a crazy thing. If you are adult country, you have to get together and negotiate. Don't revive the 20th century bad memories. We have to go forward as a humanity. And so I think Russia, China, bad collaboration, we, the democratic nations, have to talk and divide them to make them understanding. And I hope that Putin have to make he have to step down from the clearing. Otherwise, the World War III is going to begin.
Right. It's been observed that the West is more keen on prioritizing the war, whereas the priority of the other nations which are part of the G20, particularly the Global South, have other more important issues to focus on, which includes environmental crisis, poverty alleviation, food and energy security, even the impact of digital technologies, and the pandemic recovery, which is still on. Considering the current deadlock regarding the Ukraine war in the joint communique, can G20 afford to let the war overshadow these issues?
Yes, I hope. And also, it's very important thing with the older nations, with artificial intelligence security also. And also the economic price is really high. So we have to recheck the supply chain, but also we have to make a strong strengthening between those countries. And of course, the G7 and the G20 have to let those countries too. So I really, as one of the Japanese citizens, I think this time G20 in summit in India is very, very important responsibility for your country. And we, the nation, really would like to support and with this environmental situation.
All right. Now, the Indo-Pacific has been a key focus, and it was when Japanese Prime Minister Mr. Kishida visited India earlier this year, also dominated the G7 meet in May this year. How will G20 help India and Japan to further bolster defense capabilities in the Indo-Pacific?
This is the most important thing because India, you are a very good friend of US. You are a very good friend of Japan, but on the other hand, you buy the armament from Russia too. So from our point of view, if we can join Indian-led the exercise with a military exercise or something like that, we can see how the Russians doing, and of course they can see us too. But those kind of the exercise or training led by the country of India is one of the to make understanding each other. So you are in the middle position. The India is a mutual position. You can talk with Russia. You can talk with US and Japan, and of course geopolitically, we are sandwiching the China. India is here, China is here, Japan is here. So we have to, not give the pressure, but we have to make Chinese understand if the China is going crazy, we the Indian, we the Japanese, and we the Americans are surrounding you. And especially we also focusing on the Taiwan's issue, because Taiwan is a nation. And I hope the Taiwan has to be in the United Nations. If you look at the Korea Peninsula, South Korea is a member of the United Nations. North Korea is also the United Nations member state. Why Taiwan is not a member state? Taiwan and China have to go to the New York or Geneva and talk peacefully as a member of the United Nations. So I hope the G20 summit is one of the place try to make understand about the Taiwan situation.
We also, for India to completely segregate itself when it comes to doing business with Russia is concerned. India's foreign minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, has always been very vocal about the fact that it's not possible. Considering the fact that Russia is the country that provides cheaper energy to India, India can't afford to buy very expensive energy. Similarly, the United States itself has made it very clear that it's not looking at completely decoupling with China. So can these two countries be, completely kept in isolation? And how can India and the US and other significant members of the G20 as well as the G7, like Japan, work on a common goal, which also brings into consideration the needs of this global south, which, as I mentioned, means poverty, which means climate change, as well as impact of digital technologies, environmental crisis, even food and energy security.
Of course, your profit is not my profit. Your answer is not my answer. This is normal. So this is a politics. We have to dialogue. We have to talk. So, I personally, I cannot understand what the Putin thinking. I don't understand what the Xi Jinping thinking. But they think their own profit always. But sometimes they have to think about your counterpart profit. So why he would like to pull the trigger first? Before you pull the trigger, why don't you talk? So this is what is the difference between those the action.
Right. No, so
the action is really like a kid. You have to be an adult. So Mr. Putin, Mr. Xi Jinping have to be an adult. Then you can understand what you are doing right now in the 21st century. Who is going to make an artificial island in South China Sea? It's a very childish.